And welcome back to Success Made to Last Authors Corner. I'm Rick Tocquigny. I hope you all are having a great day. We are. And our very special guest today is Matthew Kinslow. And Matthew is the author of a wonderful book, Unstoppable, Substitute Teacher with Autism Who Makes No Excuses. About 1 in 36 children are identified across the world as having autism spectrum disorder, according to the CDC, and more than 5.4 million adults are living with autism. Yet, there's this public perception, understanding, and acceptance that have a long way to go. And Matthew Kinslow, as a teacher, social media influencer, is trying to change that. He never gave his autism diagnosis the power to define him or to limit his pursuits. And through this book, he hopes to inspire, inform, and create change by sharing this compelling true story called Unstoppable. Matthew, it's an honor to have you on our program today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
You bet. Okay, now tell us about this book and why you wrote it.
This new book, Unstoppable, I had the idea to write it toward the end of my student teaching in 2022. And I was reflecting on this entire journey through student teaching and how I never gave up. And I didn't honestly know what to expect, but it turned out to be a very pleasant experience. And I thought that my story would be encouraging to aspiring teachers, disability or not.
Oh, very good. How long did it take you to write the book?
I think if you put it together, I'd say maybe a few months.
Oh, not bad. How did you use your teaching skills and your education to kind of organize your table of contents and figure out what you were going to write about?
Well, I thought maybe I should just give a brief introduction of how I got started in the first place. My first passions that I had to teach, which started in early elementary school, and being teacher for a day a couple of times in early elementary school, and then how I kept the passion, how I solidified the passion in high school, and then I told the entire journey of like what it took to be a teacher, the credential program, and everything.
Oh, you were teacher of the day in elementary school. Tell us about that fun experience.
It was a fundraiser, and I tried all 4 years at this particular elementary school. 3rd grade I lost, 4th grade I won, 5th grade I lost, 6th grade I won. So twice I got to be teacher for a day. It was a good experience. It was the first time I ever heard students say Mr. Kinslow to me. And it was very fun. I got to like help the teacher in teaching lessons. I came up with like crossword puzzles or word searches.
Oh, excellent. Any particular fondest memories in that 6th grade year that you'd like to recall today just to further inspire us?
In the 6th grade year, yeah. Well, I remember it's May 30th, 2007, and I just remember being excited to teach, and I made a crossword puzzle with all the names of the students, and I wanted to teach more, but I couldn't teach everything. Like I had history I wanted to teach, but it wasn't in the curriculum, but I did get to teach a few things.
Yeah. You have a distinct memory for dates, I can already tell, and you're highly detailed. How does that help you as a teacher with that sharp attention to detail?
I've always had that attention to detail and dates, and I don't remember every single date, but there's a lot that I remember. Therefore, it's easy to remember dates and birthdays. And I think a characteristic I have is being detailed and organized. But on the side, I started to use it for interesting lessons and such. So I did my student teaching in math, so that requires a lot of numbers and everything. And one of my favorite lessons I've ever taught as a student teacher it involved using birthdays. So I had all the students' birthdays memorized, and so I took advantage of that. at the end, they're like, that was a very impressive lesson. So.
Of course it was. And students like to have their name and their data involved because it makes them feel special and unique, doesn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it's a very personal thing. Autism in our world, I think, is grossly misunderstood. In your book, you are teaching us through this narrative about autism, and I want you to kind of take the platform today and tell us, what are the biggest misunderstandings about this?
Okay, autism is a neurodevelopmental disability. I kind of like viewing it as a different ability to live life, a different lens with which to view the world. And there are challenges, and I strive to overcome them as much as I can. So some of the negative parts of autism include these. It's hard to concentrate. So like reading, doing homework, trying to go to sleep at night have been a struggle for me because it's hard to shut my mind off when it's supposed to. I had a speech delay when I was 3 years old, or I was diagnosed at age 3. So I took speech therapy, which helped. I was very shy throughout my life. I had my share of being teased for having autism, but at the same time I've made friends, but at the same time I was shy to make friends, to hang out with friends. But on the flip side, there's the memory, the attention to detail, and other things with autism that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Different ability to live life. It makes me wonder about why everyone shouldn't choose a different ability to live life and pay less attention to diagnosis and pay more attention just to people and helping other people.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that you and I were exchanging emails about before the program was the topic of significance, and we dwell too heavily, Matthew, on why people should be trying to move from being successful to being significant. And significance to us means giving back. What do you think significance means to you after several great tenures of being a substitute teacher? And I'm sure someone's going to pick you up as a full-time teacher and professor someday. But what does significance mean to you today?
To me today, significance means something that's just very important, at the utmost importance. But as you were saying, I fully believe that what's significant is something where I'm able to help people and give back. That's significant to me, like paying it forward, and that's what's significant.
You bet. Did you just wrap up a school year, or when was the last time you were teaching?
This academic year ends on June 7th. Okay. So I'm just subbing in the meantime.
Very good, very good. If we had some of your favorite students on, if they are our favorite students, how would they describe you as, other than he's the best substitute teacher we've ever had in our entire lives?
They might bring out times when I do magic tricks, and I tell them it's not real magic, but I do like tricks as a reward for good behavior, as incentives to strive your best, to be the best that you could be. I also juggle, so a lot of people might talk about me juggling. So,
When you juggle, are you juggling more than 3 items, or is that the max?
Up to 4.
What?
Yeah, 4 juggle-bugs, yeah.
I've heard that in juggling, it's not about the catching, but it's about the pitching. Is that true?
I've just heard a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Yeah. What do you do? What are some of the different things that you juggle, or is it just balls, or what do you juggle? Yes,
those or juggle-bugs. Juggle-bugs are like beanbag cubes.
Okay.
And such. But then I also juggle clubs. Those are what look like bowling pins. And then for a finale, I juggle a basketball, a club, and a juggle bug at once. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
A bowling ball.
A basketball.
A basketball. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen a juggler on a cruise before do a basketball, a ping pong ball, and a bowling ball. And so, how would you, as a juggler, manage that? That 15 pounds coming down on you and that lightness, the feather lightness of a ping pong ball.
Yeah, well, see, I just need to practice with that, like having a bowling ball. But yeah, I could imagine the bowling ball is very like massive, and the ping pong ball is like lighter than air.
That's right.
Well, to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, it would take something. Magic is a skill set that I think a lot of our listeners would love to try their hand at. What would you say would be some tips in terms of getting started as a magician?
I would say just make sure that you practice beforehand a lot and practice in front of a mirror. And then after practicing in front of a mirror, making sure that your sleight of hand is convincing enough, then maybe go to like a family member, very good friend, and practice. And then after that, then you could feel confident to go in front of class or somewhere.
Yeah. And you use the magic tricks as a reward for probably right answers or figuring out something. What is, in the last year or two, what is your favorite magic trick that you performed?
That's hard to pick a favorite because one of them is, you pick a card, you sign it, and then it looks like I put it back in the deck. And beforehand, they have an envelope, and they make sure that the envelope is empty. And I put the envelope in my pocket. Okay, now I'm like, pick a card, sign it, and then I put the card back in the deck, and then it changes to the envelope. And in the envelope, I pull out the card that they signed, and that's their souvenir.
Oh, good grief, Matthew. That is too cool. I mean, I would be entranced as a student. I would go, show me more, show me more. So it's what a wonderful, positive way of teaching. I just love that. Okay, we are talking with author Matthew Kinslow, who's written this wonderful book called Unstoppable: Substitute Teacher with Autism Makes No Excuses. Man, it's a powerful book. Tell our listening audience where they can purchase your book today.
They could purchase it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or like any library or bookstore. Online, I would probably put like Unstoppable Matthew Kinslow on the search bar because there's a lot of products called Unstoppable.
Okay, very good. And Matthew, many of our listeners love to collect autograph copies. Are you signing book plates, little plates like this, so they can be sent out with your book, or what's the situation on that?
Well, I could, like with the address and such, I could sign in and mail out, send out.
Okay. So I would imagine, folks, you can get that done through Ascot Media Group as well. And I'm going to give out Ascot's, it's ascotmedia.com and news at ascotpr.com. Maybe another contact way to do that, accomplish that as well. Hey, we heard that you were covered on ABC 7 in Los Angeles, and that over 1 million people have followed your story on social media. What surprises have you learned from social media and all these crazy people that want to learn about your heart and mind?
One thing I learned is like the tool of social media, that you could basically go anywhere in the world these days potentially. And there are a lot of negativity about social media, but I'm trying to spread positivity, and it's available. So that's why I decided to post the past 6 years on social media.
Very good. I like that. And in Unstoppable, I know that you've chronicled your highs and lows with just great honesty and authenticity, and you walk the readers through what life is like for people who are neurodivergent. If there was another term for neurodivergent that the rest of the world should learn and know, because that's a big word, what would be the other word for neurodivergent?
I'd have to think, because neurodivergent just expresses the diversity of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to think of a word for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I can see you planting almost a new vocabulary out there for the world, as you have in your book Unstoppable. And maybe the word is unstoppable, and it's not. There's no limits. It's like you can find your potential and stop classifying or putting us in a box. So it's one of those situations of people open up your mind. The entire world is broken. There's something wrong with everybody, in our opinion. So it's we find your book to be so inspirational, but at the same time we're trying to fight this world that says you're disabled and I'm not. Really? Because there's something wrong with everybody. What do you think about that?
I was reflecting on that, because like everyone has something, and what I was thinking is, math, for example, like a lot of people might think that we have a disability, have those things that are hard, but there's a lot of people who are neurotypical, the people who are not neurodivergent, and they tell me and everyone how much they hate math. But to me, like, math is so much easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is there a new math out again? Because when I was growing up, there was a new math, and it was the way to go. And then all of a sudden, all of our elementary school teachers decided to just put it all in the past, and they picked up on the new method. And then they returned to it 10 years later. So what's the latest new math?
Over in my state, it's like Common Core in our curriculum, which is more like word problem based and such. And that's why I had a student teach out of through McGraw-Hill curriculum.
Word based. Okay. So does that mean that on the SAT, if there's still a math section on the SAT and other entrance exams, are they all word based like you just described?
I'd have to check. I mean, a lot of word problems, there are like application problems. And I think that's what the curriculum designers are trying to get at. It's like, here's the math, but how are you going to use it in real life? Here are the application problems.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever approach math from the standpoint of there may be in your class students that will be future coders who are coding for software that will never go to college? All they will do is learn to code, and then they will do that for 10 or 15 years of their life and make a really good living doing it. Is there something that you're building into your teaching to help future coders?
Well, perhaps, and because coding would include computer science and mathematics, and like my job would just be to teach, and hopefully teach in a way where students could understand math and not get frustrated. And what they want to do with it in their life is their calling. And I would hope that maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the line, I'd hear how they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. To that point, for all you teachers out there, and God bless you for teaching and taking your talents forward to the classroom. Thank you for what you do, for starters. But you never will know all of the students that are out there that you've influenced that someday may turn out to be an astronaut, or a great engineer, just because you've inspired them to love math. And so that's in part why we want to have you on today, just to say thank you for your positive influence on the students. And of course, your book, Unstoppable, is inspirational unto itself. Okay, just a few more questions with our special guest, author Matthew Kinslow. I had asked you before the show also to tell us about your best habits and then your worst habits. Let's start with your worst habits right now.
So one of the worst habits that I've came across reflecting on my life was procrastination. And I would not recommend that. So I tried to cut that off earlier in life because I knew how stressful it was. So I tried, or nowadays, like if I have a lot of tasks to do, I won't put it off to the last minute, but space it out, which goes into a better habit, which is spacing out your work and giving yourself time to complete it. And then another is like not communicating would be a worst habit. So like I found that communications is very key. And like for me personally, like communicating who I am and some of the challenges that I have may be better with the relationship with, my colleagues, for example.
All right. Spacing out your work. What a great habit to endorse and to try to teach other people to do that. What's your perspective on our culture being or looking like they're too busy and they're busy on this most of the time? What would your suggestion be to at least the United States culture about slowing down and enjoying life and maybe getting off of their small screens?
I'd say it's just that, like, take time to enjoy life. The past 10 or 15 years with technology and such, I've personally seen even my friends being consumed by that instead of like spending quality time, And there have been times in my life where it's like I was at a place where I could spend time with my friends, but they were too consumed with like a computer game or their MP3 player or something. So, my encouragement is like, this is your one life and just try to enjoy it a bit more and discipline yourself with like how much you spend on a device.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to end today's show and give Matthew an opportunity to thank everybody that he wants to, who has positively influenced him. And so I'll let you take the podium and wrap up today's show and pretend that you are receiving an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, and a Tony today, which you should because you've done some great things, including writing Unstoppable, and this interview because you're a great storyteller and a great conversationalist. So thank your audience. Who would you like to thank today?
Number one, I'd love to thank my mother and grandfather. They have been raising me since birth. And I also want to thank all my teachers from like preschool to my college days, all my mentors that I've had. I'd like to thank my commanders at the Royal Rangers program. Royal Rangers is like Boy Scouts with a faith-based element to it. And all my commanders never given up on me. And likewise, I'll pay it forward and never give up on anybody else. And lastly, I want to thank all my professors at Vanguard University who were a part of the credential and master's program, and my mentor teacher herself at Ensign, whom I was a student teacher under.
That's terrific. Hey, Matthew, thank you so much for being on today's show. People, you need to buy Unstoppable. And we think it's mandatory reading, not only for this summer, but for any time. It's timeless and it's classic, and it's worth your read. So go to Amazon today, or Barnes & Noble, or your local bookstore, and ask for Unstoppable. Matthew, thank you so much for being on. Fantastic interview. You are as advertised. Thank you for being on today's program.
No problem.
And folks, as we always say, we wish you success, but on your way to significance. Have a great week.